It's Wednesday, February 29th, 2012. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we talk about Sailor Moon, the SuperS movie.
Let's do this.
As opposed to, the SuperS show or all the other... Anyway, it's Sailor Moon.
RSQP.
There's no Q.
You sure?
So we got some friends coming out this weekend. It's basically, there may or may not be much Geek Nights next week because I'm flying to India for a week. Leaving Saturday, and we got some friends coming out right before that, though.
Give the Great Tiger my regards.
They're coming, of all things, for a yoga tournament, and I realized that I cannot conceive.
Wait, a yoga tournament? As in yoga fire, yoga
I'm assuming
flame.
That this is basically a street fight because I cannot conceive of any other sort of yoga
Right,
competition.
I mean, I know yoga, and I can respect some kinds of yoga that aren't full of, magical bullshit, but it's how do you compete at that? Is it who can stay in the hot room the longest without passing out? Is it who can do the hardest position? It can do...
I think it's who can beat the other guy to death with yoga catastrophes first.
Is it who does the positions better? Is with a little score rating system like figure skating, 9.8, 9.7, is it... how does that freaking work?
Is it like
horse where it's I do a yoga, then you have to do it? Then
That'd be a good tournament. Actually,
then you do a yoga, then I have to do it?
It's impractical simply for the fact that no one is a video game renaissance man anymore because there's too many genres. I'd love to see an Omegathon around or a finale that was video game horse. Each candidate gives them here are the 10 horse things I will present to the other person, like they do with
pick 10, some odd number, 9. Direct versus 1 games that are short, and you have to win 5 out of 4 rounds, and it's Street Fighter, go. Then it's so it's a fighting game. Then it's some other, racing game, go.
I was thinking more you pick,
Othello, go.
Within a constrained set, you're all right, just like they do for trick pool tournaments. I will beat Bald Bull with only using jabs. Right jabs. And then you do it, and then the other guy has to do the same thing. The thing is, it
would just the person who made the challenge would maybe sometimes fail, and the person who's being challenged would hardly ever be able to succeed.
Yeah, it works better in trick pool because there's a very constrained set of pool skills. So maybe you set it to 1 game.
Still, yoga tournament? I mean, I could look this up on the internet to figure out how competitive yoga works.
But I'm just going to assume that it's Street Fighter.
It's much more fun to make fun of it than to look it up. Though I probably will look it up when I get home.
Yoga Flame.
Yoga Flame.
So it's Wednesday, and, sadly, a couple of people have pointed out in the forums we haven't talked about a lot of anime recently.
There really hasn't been a lot of anime recently. Let me point...
Well, there has been, but the last anime I watched was Madoka Magica.
Yeah.
The last anime I watched before that, I'm still kind of watching Fist of the North Star, but I'm reading Drops of God. Playing a lot of video games lately.
No, really?
It's not anime season.
No, it really isn't. Another thing I noticed, right, is that I've been reading, instead of Anime News Network, the Crunchyroll news, I think has been, mostly the same, but also a little bit better.
Nah. Right?
But there was an article on there. This isn't my news. This is just relevant, right? This is Japanese fans name the most needed anime sequels, right?
Wait a minute. I wonder, before you tell me what...
So they had a poll, and it's almost 2,000 Japanese fans named the anime series most in need of a sequel.
Because I want to see the same thing in the U.S., because if I had to say something, it's literally Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex is all I want.
Cowboy Bebop. Anyway...
No, I don't actually want more Cowboy Bebop because I know why.
But the point is, if you look at this list, it's Angel Beats is number 1.
What?
Haru Suzumi is 2.
I could see that.
Natsume Yu Jinsho is 3. Working with an exclamation point is 4. Clanad After Story. Then K-On!
Wait.
Then Full Metal Panic Second Raid, which is a sequel, so I guess they want another sequel. Minami K, Squid Girl, Zan Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, The
Okay,
World
that one I can see.
God Only Knows, My Ordinary Life, Usagi Drop, Sekirei, Rosen Maiden, Genshiken 2, Initial D 4th Stage.
But no, you don't need more Initial D.
Toradora, Okami-san.
I watched the
Strongest Disciple Kenichi, Banner of the Stars 3.
I recently...
Spice and Wolf 2.
Spice and... Oh
Strike Witches, Elfen
no,
Lead.
No.
Right? And it's most of the animes, if you look at like those JPEGs that show you all the animes coming out, most of them we don't give a shit about.
All I want. Now, here's the thing.
Madoka 2. I take that, but that isn't on the list. They don't want Madoka 2.
I wouldn't want Madoka 2 either.
I
because
do.
Well, here's the thing. I don't want Madoka 2 same reason I don't want Cowboy Bebop 2.
I'll take Madoka 2.
However,
more than I'll take Angel Beats 2.
what did Cowboy Bebop do to get around that? They set the movie in the middle of the show with no ramifications outside.
Anyway.
But if there was a Madoka sequel, I'd actually want it to be a prequel. I want to see like imagine if they did a Madoka like OAV or something.
Well, I mean, I would call the show Magical Homura.
There's two ways to handle this. You go for the fan fulfillment, which is Homura the badass kicking ass all around
right.
the world.
The name of the show would be Magical Badass Homura at the end.
But my real serious suggestion would be another show, like 13 episodes, and maybe it's 13 vignettes, maybe a few two-parters in there.
Well, they wanted to make, Happy School Days Madoka.
No, don't do that.
That's what they wanted. That's what the guy said he was thinking about making.
I know, and that's the worst.
Because he didn't get enough school days in the regular Madoka.
That's the worst possible idea. Short of showing me all the bad endings.
That's right.
But what I would do is, have a show that's prequels, and every episode is some magical girl from some point in history, because this goes, not to spoil stuff, but
You just did.
I spoiled a little bit, but I didn't
matter.
spoil the real spoils. I want to see like the Cleopatra magical girl and the Greek magical girl and the Indian
Well, you can watch
magical girl.
Tezuka's Cleopatra.
I could,
Anyway.
but that's what I would
But
do.
the point is just the reason that there's not so much new animes is because the Japanese fans don't like good animes. They're making too many moe shows, not making enough good shows.
The Japanese fans who care enough to respond to online polls about said thing.
I know, but the point is, it seems like if you look at those JPEGs that say what animes are coming out, most of them
go to the
are...
average American and do an online poll that only targets people who are super into American comics, and ask them what superhero needs another
Then
comic.
explain why most of the animes coming out are targeting this market.
Partly because that is probably a cheap and easy market to target.
Anyway, you get the idea. What new animes are coming out that aren't moe crap?
Ghost in the Shell standalone
That's not
complex
coming
third
out.
gig.
That's actually coming out.
It's coming. I got to be optimistic here.
Right, so...
I'd love to see that survey on American anime fans.
I would also. Anyway, so here's some actual news, right? And I learned something from this news. There are some mangas that have been on hiatus or away for various reasons.
Like every super long-running series that didn't end.
That they're coming back.
Yeah.
Bastard is coming back.
Oh my
March
God.
19th.
That's bad, because the fact that Bastard was on hiatus meant that there was a chance I could somehow catch up.
Right? Arakawa Under the Bridgy Bridge coming back.
I kind of want to watch and or read that.
Right?
So.
Saint Young Men, that's the one with Buddha and Jesus.
Yeah.
Also coming back. You know why? I didn't know this. I learned something. Arakawa Under the Bridge and Saint Young Men, same person. She was on maternity leave.
What? I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that, but now I do. And I started reading Saint Young Men on scans because she apparently, people have tried to license it and she refuses. She doesn't want anyone to put it out in different countries. So I've been reading it illegally, whatever. I don't care.
Eh.
And it's kind of awesome. It's Buddha and Jesus. They're roommates in Japan on
Emily's got it
vacation
'cause,
from.
she can read Japanese. So.
Yeah, it's coming back because again, maternity leave. She's done with the babying, right? And you know what else is coming back?
What's coming back?
You're not gonna believe this one, right? Ahem.
Elf Princess Rain. I don't know.
The mystery adventure series Master Keaton ran in Big Comic Original for 18 volumes, and now it's returning. According to the band on Volume 8, the series re-released, Keaton be returning with Master Keaton Remaster, set 20 years after the original.
What? Whoa!
What?
I want to read
Whether
this.
this will be an ongoing or one-shot has not been specified.
Don't care. Want to read. Won't be in
Well, I mean, I
English.
haven't read the irregular manga.
Yeah,
so
but I saw the cartoon, and that's good enough. The problem is, nobody in America likes Master Keaton except us.
Right, but the thing here, right, is okay, so there's some mangas coming back from hiatus. This isn't really enough to say there's a trend here, especially since 2 out of the 4 are,
it
one
is
person.
if there's no other news.
Right, but I mean, is there a trend of old mangas coming back, for a reprise or an encore, or
Nope.
is this just a coincidence? Okay, these 4, and it's not really a trend or something that's going to happen a lot.
I'm going with coincidence, and call me back if Ranma starts up again.
Yeah, because I mean, it could be that the manga publishers in Japan are man, these new mangas aren't doing so well. let's go and get the creators of the old manga to sort of start them up again, and maybe that will sell better to the nostalgia crowd. That could be a thing that happens. I don't know if it's happening right now.
I'm not sure.
I don't know either, but
Because
it's a
Bastard
possibility.
is a very kind of special, odd case. We should do a show on Bastard.
We have to watch Bastard again.
Yeah, we should read some too.
Metallicana and Anthrathraxia.
Oh my god, let's watch Bastard again and do a show on it.
Good call.
I haven't seen Bastard since it was like 3 a.m. at
Have
RIT.
we ever done a show on Gokudo?
Gokudo? I don't think we ever did a show on it. We didn't even finish Gokudo.
We should.
We watched like the first 8 episodes.
It kind of, it was started out pretty fun, and then it was less fun as he kept going.
As things go.
Yeah.
Anyway, so speaking of reading and watching things illegally, Oricon Communications had a questionnaire where they asked people stuff about media, and supposedly in Japan, based on these responses, 28.5% of Japanese middle and high school students have illegally downloaded.
Well, admitted to legally downloading because it was a survey.
I point out that I'm really interested in this. So, all right, 28% have ever downloaded anything illegally. Either that number is completely wrong, or Japan is way different from the rest of the world. Because I think in America, the survey answer would actually be like 99%.
Yeah. Well, that's a survey. It's people admitting to it, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's weird because I'll admit to stuff.
But also, you got to remember how many people are even internet-y, right? So it's like all the non-internet-y people are, that's probably more than half right there. But 100% of the internet-y people, definitely.
Well, what's interesting
and then there's
is
people who don't realize, so it's...
Japan's copyright law actually changed, and I didn't even know this.
Yeah, they're like arrest people for shit. It's crazy.
No, so they changed the law, and apparently it is actually illegal to download copyrighted material, which has never really been proven to be illegal in the U.S. Only distribution has been gone after. But in Japan, they go after consumption.
Yep.
Which is interesting.
If you download some, animes in Japan, you could go to jail, like criminal. Not they need to sue you, but like the police will just come after you, and they're like watching the internets. It's crazy.
But at the same time, they're also really...
Singapore, too. Singapore is just as bad in that
Japan's
respect.
also really down on reimportation, which is, basically legal, and yet undercuts their domestic production almost as much.
Whatever.
No, I would argue it doesn't anymore because hardly anything's getting released in the U.S.
Plus, remember, this also is only counting teenagers. So, like, are the 30-year-olds downloading a lot more than the 20-year-olds, than the, 13 to 18-year-olds?
I really wonder what the actual rates are because like I said, in America, I think even people like age 30, 40, the rate is like 100%. Because one of the first things my parents asked
of
me
internet-y people
when we got broadband was, so
those
how
people,
do I download music?
Those people at the jury duty who didn't even read a book while they were there and just stared at the TV, they're not downloading anything illegally, and they're the majority.
You say that, but they probably have like an iPod, like an old one or something, and they probably just download stuff.
Maybe. It's possible.
But anyway, things of the day. So I did not know this existed, and Emily the other day was like, hey, this is a thing. And I was like, what? So apparently, when Deke was, got the rights to Sailor Moon in the U.S. back in the day, one of the options they considered was to not actually release Sailor Moon as it was in Japan, and to just take the characters and make their own show.
Why would you do that? It costs money to make your own show. But if you just take the show that already exists, it doesn't cost nearly as much money to just put it out there.
Because one, the licensing cost probably would have been less. Two, they then would not have had to localize and westernize and dumb down and all the stuff that they ended up having to do with the Sailor Moon because they wanted to pretend it wasn't in Japan and pretend that it wasn't actually, a show for slightly older girls.
Why didn't they just let it be in Japan?
Scott, you really ask that? That's how
so
people
dumb.
have been. So anyway, not only were they going to remake it and reanimate it, but they were only going to reanimate half of it because the other half was live action.
Well, that was the trend in those days, right? You could save a lot of money by making a show live, partially live action in a lot of these cheap filler scenes, and then using other stuff for the rest. Like
Power Rangers.
Power Rangers in the U.S. You have some English U.S. actors act out these in between scenes, and then
an unrelated Sentai show.
Right, then you just dub over this other Sentai show for the fighting monster scenes, or a lot of VR Troopers, same kind of thing. Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, same thing.
So. What's amazing
is
that in 1995 at Anime Expo, that's before I knew anime cons existed.
Yep.
Someone showed the only screening I have ever been able to find.
Why would they? The thing I don't understand is why would you show this to anime fans at Anime Expo?
I think the reason is apparent. The audience is dumbstruck by this thing. It's pretty amazing. So. Bonus points about this are that, one, Sailor Moon's also in a wheelchair, and the cast is diverse to a degree that would make Captain Planet cringe at the political correctness. But she can walk around just fine in the animated part, but she has a wheelchair mech in that part. And I think the icing on the cake is that they made them literal sailors sailing things through space.
Right, well, because kids wouldn't understand. Like, she's called Sailor Moon. How come she doesn't have a boat?
This is pretty dangerous. This is anime hell territory.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this has already been an anime hell, and we just weren't at that anime hell.
Yeah, the number of views on this video is pretty low, so...
there might have been other times posted to YouTube.
I want to get the word out. I want people to know that this is a thing, and that is perhaps one of the worst things the world has ever seen.
Mm-hmm. So my thing of the day is the best, right? For many years, I have been looking for things like this, right? And it has been hard to find things like this, which is something that was originally English, but was dubbed in some other country. Because other countries tend to just sort of subtitle.
True.
And you only get the weird, and a lot of times you get stuff like Turkish Star Wars, where it isn't even a dub, it's just like some, remake ripoff thing, right? And, it's kind of hard to find dubs of stuff from the U.S. that is in other languages. And at least, even if you do find dubs, they're not that interesting. Like, I watched Spanish E.T. once in high school in Spanish class.
Well, like The Lion King.
Oh, it's middle school, not high school.
I watched The Lion King in French. It's just perfect and in French.
Yeah. Ete telefono la casa. Right? But I mean, there's nothing funny about that. There's nothing good to go with, right? So here is, right, thanks to, I assume Patrick Macias, Crunchyroll News, right? It was actually in a link to something from another story. This is the Japanese dub of Star Wars, right? Which is actually really good. Like, you're watching it and you're like, damn, that is some good dubbing right there. But specifically, this video isn't just the Japanese dub of Star Wars. It is specifically all 11 minutes and 18 seconds of Lando Calrissian's screen time. In the Japanese Star Wars. It's just all of Lando's screen time cut up out of the movies.
Scott, the danger alert, something that hasn't gone off many times in my life, is going out. This is edging into most territory right here.
Right. And, so it's pretty much you're watching all of Star Wars, but only the Lando Calrissian parts in the Japanese dub. There's no other modifications to this video whatsoever.
So, is the moral of this that there are two options? Either Japan found someone amazing to do that voice, or they actually did a good job with a black man's voice in Japanese.
Okay, so first of all, the dub is amazing overall. Like, just watching it, like, oh, Leia, and the C-3PO voice and the Darth Vader voice is pretty good.
Overall,
can you guess at the reason that it is Lando Calrissian?
All the Japanese are stupid. I hate all. Is it one of those situations?
The voice of Lando Calrissian.
Wait a minute. Is it
Japanese Star Wars?
Is it Doshe Kanoru?
Noria Wakamoto.
Oh my God, it really is?
It absolutely is.
Oh my God.
It is amazing.
So,
it is the greatest.
So, he is now actually my favorite voice actor as opposed to my second favorite voice actor.
He is like...
Because it's pretty much
I'm
Koyasu,
sorry.
him, and
I'm sorry, Han Solo.
Akira Kamiya. Doshe Yodaru.
He doesn't talk to Yoda ever.
I know.
He doesn't even see Yoda. Yoda's only ever talks to Luke.
That's some good stuff.
But yes, Noria Wakamoto is the voice of Lando Calrissian in Japan. Does a great job.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing.
So in the meta moment, Easter weekend, which is coming up pretty soon. We will be at the Penny Arcade Expo doing one lecture. Let's play money-making game. We will also
10,
be doing one
30, 50.
We will be doing 1 2-hour classroom workshop on how to play some German-style board games.
Oh, yeah.
And we will be at Anime Boston doing Diamonds in the Rough.
And eating dinner.
We will also be at the Going Cardboard screening where we will say hi
Hi.
to people who want to say hi to us.
Great.
Otherwise, we're pretty much going to be in tabletop playing games the entire time.
Except for like an hour in the expo hall or something.
And an hour or so at the Whiskey Priest.
Yeah.
And the Illegal Test Kitchen.
Yep. Other meta things. Do we have a new book club book?
Yes, we do, but I'll announce that in the separate book club episode.
Okay.
Oh.
Do we have internets? We do. You should visit us on the internets. A lot of people, they subscribe to this show in iTunes or something. They listen to it maybe, but they never visit us on the internets. Well, we have internets. You should go to twitter.com/Geeknights. You should go to Google Plus, Geeknights, Facebook,
Forum.frontrowcrew.com. Our forum's pretty fucking rocking.
You can also go to just frontrowcrew.com. You can go to all kinds of places. Just search for Front Row Crew or Geeknights on the Google. Whatever part of the internet you like to use, you can find us there.
If you go to
and hook up with us, and you will be well notified.
In particular, the Geeknights Rim YouTube channel, our official YouTube channel, has many of our panels and lectures throughout the recent years. And I just uploaded a new video that, if you weren't already going out of your mind waiting for PAX, this video is
how many? There's only like 36, 37 days till PAX East.
It's coming.
It's real close. I got to get that panel together. I'm going to do it this week. I'm
doing
doing it this week.
I got to get all the other panels together.
I'm doing it this weekend.
Okay.
I'm putting together the money-making game. I know what the first slide is.
Old man.
Old man. Why you give me useless hint for 50?
So the other day, a conversation that I never thought would happen happened. Scott comes to me and says, hey, we should do a show on Sailor Moon.
Well, the thing is, Rim is the biggest Sailor Moon nut there is.
No, that is not true.
He's a huge Sailor Moon nut.
I am not actually a big fan of Sailor Moon.
Yes, you are. You're a gigantic fan of Sailor Moon. And it's a very important anime in the U.S. especially. And we'd never done a show on it, and we really needed some anime shows. So I'm like, hey, that's a good show to do an episode on. Let's watch some kind of Sailor Moon something. Since you're such a big fan, you know what to watch. Let's watch something and then do an episode on it.
Back in the day, when I watched Vampire Hunter D when I was in 4th grade. My little brother was in 2nd grade.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal, and I really got into anime. And I watched all the anime blockbuster, and then what? Then what do? Go to Suncoast? There's like 4 more shows to watch. Now I've seen all that. Now what? So I eventually found fan subs, and the first fan sub I ever got, I actually got tapes mailed to me of all of Sailor Moon. I binged
every letter, like regular Sailor Moon, SRQPT.
I have VHSs made from the original Laserdisc releases with English subtitles.
Every single episode, OAV, and movie of Sailor Moon ever? In order?
Every bit of animation ever related to Sailor Moon directly is, in fact, on VHS format in boxes somewhere.
In your possession?
And the cases themselves had color printout scans of the Laserdisc covers. They are super pro.
Is this and you watch, including the movie we just watched, is also in there?
Yes, all 3 movies plus the special Ami-chan no Hatsukoi.
How much did this cost you in those days?
$240.
That's pretty cheap.
For shipping and the cost of the tapes, because I had to buy all the tapes.
Yep.
Now, I could have had him ship me SVHSs, which would have been higher quality, but
you need an SVHS player.
I had an SVHS player.
Whoa!
I was not confident I would have another one ever, nor was I confident that anyone would let me take that thing to college. I don't even know where it is anymore.
I don't know either. We had it in Beacon, I think.
Yeah, we did, but it didn't work that well. Remember, we also had that ghetto DVD player that we had to take the case off or it would overheat?
Yeah.
That we hacked to be region-free and then never played a single region-free disc ever?
Yeah, well, because we had Video Barn, which had broken where the discs were hacked, so it didn't matter.
So Scott was like, what should I watch? And after a long sort of explanation of Sailor Moon, RS, SuperS, stars, manga, movies, I realized that there's no way I'll ever get Scott to watch all of Sailor Moon.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I don't
have
really
time for that shit.
And the thing is, I'd love to get him to watch enough to do a show on Sailor Moon, the way we did on Slayers. But It's not going to happen anytime soon.
It's
and
too much.
I wasn't going to... It's only 200 episodes.
Oh, only 200. It's only more than Fist of the North Star. That's all.
So rather than explain it or anything, I figured let's just pick a movie. So I took the 3 movies, and I didn't really explain what they were. I just offered Scott the following choice. Do you want to watch the movie about the gay guy from space who comes down and fucks shit up? The movie about candy? Or the movie that's actually about the cat and the moon?
Well, I don't care about the cat and the moon. The other ones...
That's actually the best one.
Well, the other ones sound crazy, right? So it's got to be one of the crazy ones, right? So, I don't know. We ended up with the candy one. But
Yeah,
it wasn't about candy. It was about Pedo Bear.
No, it was about the pedo Piper.
It was about Pedo Bear.
We're going to spoil the Sailor Moon SuperS movie. You don't really... You don't...
You don't give a
care.
shit about that.
You should probably watch the movie, but...
No, you probably shouldn't.
So I learned some stuff about this movie because when I watched Sailor Moon, young and innocent, I did not know yet who Kunihiko Ikuhara was. Ikuhara, Utena, craziness. He's an interesting guy.
Pedophile.
Nah, not a pedophile, more of a hebephile, as far as we can tell. He would at least...
Oh, because that's so much better.
Yeah, it's arguably a little bit better.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to impinge upon his character because some of it's secondhand, some of it's just obvious from listening to him in interviews. He's an odd dude, but he caused Utena to be made, so I got to give him some respect. But he was, also deeply involved in Sailor Moon. And apparently, the Sailor Moon SuperS movie was originally going to be primarily about sailors Uranus and Neptune and have a basically totally different plot all about them. And he left the series before that got made, so they just dropped it all. So this was not the movie that could have been. I'm almost sad about that because Uranus and Neptune are pretty much the best characters in the show.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this movie.
So here's how this movie goes, right? So you're sitting in this town, happy town, and suddenly there's this, Pied Piper, but he's a Pied Piper of children, bringing the children into his magical flying boat
with promises
of candy. Pedo Bear, Pedo Bear, Pedo Bear. How can you not see the pedo? He brings a whole town's full of children into his flying candy ark. Oh my God. That's really what the movie's about. That's the central plot.
Yeah.
Of course, Sailor Moon and friends wake up to try and fight this shit.
Well, not originally. A whole bunch of kids get abducted.
Well, in other towns. It's
yeah,
until
all
they
over
try
the
to,
world, thousands of kids.
That's until they try to kidnap from the Sailor Town, where the sailors live.
So immediately
the
I
thing
realized...
is, if they're supposed to be protecting the whole solar system, they can't even protect...
No, they're not.
They can't even protect the other towns on Earth. They can only protect their own town.
So,
what the fuck is up with that?
Shortly in the movie, the first thing Scott asked me is, how come none of these Sailor Scouts are competent at all? Are any of them smart? And that's pretty much when the outer senshi...
Even the computery one with the cool glass, goggles and stuff.
Mercury.
Was stupid.
Yeah.
It's like they're sitting there, there's a bad guy, and they're yelling at him and saying stuff, and they're fighting the same minions over and over again. And I'm like, just use all of your sailor magical attacks at once.
But Scott, it is the deepest insult to Japanese culture you could ever have to use your full power immediately, or at any point
obviously
until the last
need to
possible
use
second.
your full power because children are getting abducted. Probably for raping.
I love how they don't even put much of an effort. Like, they see this massive kids walking toward this scary ark, and they kind of stand in front of the kids like, hey, don't go. Fuck it, let them go.
Yeah, it's not really all that much happens in this movie. It's really the amount of stuff that happens in this movie is about the same amount of stuff that would happen in a TV episode. It's just sort of dragged out with the pace is kind of slow.
Welcome to the Sailor Moon movies.
There's a lot of useless talking that doesn't advance the plot, and a lot of scenes where it's like there'll be these blue bad guys falling down at them, and they'll attack them, and it'll work.
Apparently, those blue candy bomb babies.
Yeah, the bomb babies will attack. They'll fight them off, and then more will come, and they'll fight them off, and they'll kill 10 minutes just fighting bonbon babies. Fruitlessly.
Which apparently in this intergalactic, fairy space civilization, bonbon babies are actually the only weapon they have.
Yeah.
I mean, even the cannon seems to shoot weaponized bonbon babies.
It's very strange.
I do also like how the inner senshi, the main Sailor Scouts, pretty much fall for any trick.
Yeah, they're just dumb.
They're fighting a
not
candy
only,
monster that tricked children with promises of candy,
and then they
fought.
and then
rape boat.
the guy uses gingerbread house to fool them, and it kind of works.
They're like, we're gonna stop you from tricking people with candy. Oh, hey, look, a gingerbread house. Hey, how come we're all babies now? Who the fuck cares? Candy.
It's like, oh my god, you have magical attacking powers. You just fucking transformed in a crazy transforming scene. Use your super magical attack and defeat the bad guy. No, we're just gonna stand here.
So I
get
think
hit by bonbon babies.
What was more interesting is Chibiusa, the pink one, the little girl, is, she has this whole like Makinon, like childish, innocent romance with Peru, who's I guess the main good side character.
Right. There's like, there's the 3 pedo kidnappers, but then there's one person who's
the pedo kidnappers. One of them, Popelin, is kind of normal.
Then there's like these 2 other ones that appear.
Bananin and Orangin.
Bananin and Orangin, which I looked at them, I was like, oh my god, banana guy and orange guy. Oh my god. And
I like the orange guy.
They're in the movie for like a minute.
They're hilarious though.
But they don't really say anything too much, but they appear, and it's like, oh my god.
They pretty much go down like jumps.
They're hilarious.
Oh, don't forget Queen Badine.
Right. So that's basically it. There's the chief pedophile who is like, because there always has to be a square boss behind the regular bad guy.
Of course.
Right.
But the pink-haired one is kind of like it's obvious she has this weird crush on, Mamoru, Tuxedo Mask.
Yep.
I always want to I'm never sure if I should say the English name or the Japanese, whatever. And Scott points that out. And then I realized suddenly something that I never noticed when I watched the show the first time, how fucked up that is, because Scott was bothered by it, not knowing that girl is actually his daughter from the future, and everyone involved knows that.
I mean, the fact that that's even what this plot is crazy. That's like something fans would come up in a fan fiction.
I know, it's amazing.
The fact that that little chibi thing even exists is like, she's totally seems like the kind of thing that would only exist in fan fiction and would never actually be in a show. So it's like, maybe that's actually sort of, in some ways, that and maybe other shows that have similar things are responsible maybe for the crazy shit in fan fiction, because sometimes that shit happens in the actual canon. It's like, are you kidding me?
This taught me something.
Are you kidding me? The actual story is there's some tiny Sailor Moon with pink hair from the future who's like 3 years old and is the daughter of Sailor Moon.
She's like 6 or 7 or 8.
Fine, she's 6, 7, or 8. She's Sailor Moon's daughter
There's
from the
another
future
one, Scott,
who
who's
went
like
back
3.
in time.
The one who's 3 is called Chibi Chibi, and he's even smaller.
That's double fan fiction.
But no, she's actually the goddess of the universe. Spoilers, I guess.
That is fucked up shit right there. That is fan fiction.
So,
oh my god.
What I realized, and this was like a revelation, because I happen to have seen all of Sailor Moon from an earlier Desperate
You
Era.
just happen to have seen it. You
Dude,
didn't.
when I
you
was
went
an
out
anime
of your
fan,
way to see it. Is the truth.
So I just
It's not like you were sitting in a room and it just happened to be
I just
on.
happened to scour the internet, find a guy, call him on the phone, get him to give me an address where I could mail him VHS tapes, and he would then send me fan subs of a show from Japan. I just happened to do that,
Yeah, just happened to do that.
This was an era when I had seen literally every piece of anime I could get my grubby little meat hooks on.
That's right.
I would have watched anything. In fact, I watched some shit. I watched Armageddon more than once.
No.
Doom Megalopolis, Wind of Amnesia.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so I'm going to say right now that Sailor Moon, the expanded universe, is basically Green Lantern manga style.
I think it might even be worse, even though I hesitate to say that anything could be worse.
But
I think it's equal at best.
Watching this movie, which should be relatively like, all right, Sailor Moon, you kind of know they have magical powers based on the planets and they, fight crime. You can deal with this. But every question Scott would ask, I would start to answer and realize that there was no way to answer that would make any sense to anyone who had not seen all the rest of this bullshit. It's got to be like, who's that one? I have to be like, well, so that's the daughter of Sailor Moon and the tuxedo guy from the future when they refound the Empire. But
what Empire? These are like high school girls who live in some town.
Oh, yeah, because in the past, before the show started, there was another empire that collapsed, and all those sailors are the reincarnated people from that empire.
Sure.
And there was no way to answer any question Scott had about this show, basically.
Yeah, but the thing is, keep going.
But the best
Sailor
part was
fanboy.
that at the peak of all the, the Bon Bon babies are kicking their asses, and Tuxedo Mask, who is still to this day one of those ridiculous characters.
I don't understand this guy. They have these people with magical powers, and they're failing. So this guy with no magical powers whatsoever, who was just a human wearing a tuxedo, a top hat, and a mask on his face.
He can throw a rose, and he can hit you with his little cane.
He throws roses, and he's just a dude. He comes in and he actually tries to think he can help out the magical people who are failing. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. But at least it's even dumber than Batman trying to help Superman. But at least he gets friggin' sent to the hospital. That makes sense. I was glad for that. Because it's like, yeah, normal guy can't do shit, and he gets sent to the hospital.
So he does actually get powers and become a space knight at one point, but that stops happening.
Okay.
Anyway, but there was a trio. Part of it, too, is that a lot of the weird things that happen in this movie and all the Sailor Moon movies, and they're all only an hour long, are basically like
that was the saving grace of this movie, is that it was short.
They're shout-outs and are callbacks to tropes of the show. A trope of the show, especially early on, was Sailor Moon can't do shit and doesn't know what to do. And then Tuxedo Mask appears and says, Sailor Moon, use your power. And she's like, oh, right. She uses her power.
Oh, right. I have magic. That's how I transform. Maybe I should use that on the bad guy.
Her first power is to take her little tiara off and throw it at someone. And
just keep doing that.
They turn to dust. They die immediately.
Well, I was like, why didn't she just throw that tiara at the big queen, whatever she was?
Nah, I can't. You can't use your full power.
No, you used those on the bonbon babies. You can't use it on the big boss? If I had a tiara that turned people to dust, I'd just pretty much be throwing it all the time at any bad guys, but not good guys like X-Cop.
But the Sailor Senshi are basically completely incompetent through this whole situation.
Well, and then, so later in the show, these other sailors show up, the extra sailors.
Yeah, Scott's like, is anyone competent? I'm like, actually, yes, the outer Senshi. And then they show up, and they're like, what the fuck is up? I got a sword, let's kick some ass.
Yeah, they show up, and they're like, oh shit, and they actually use their magic powers. And I was like, fuck yeah.
Now, again, I had to explain that their job, Green Lantern universe, is to defend the solar system from external threats. They're not supposed to get involved.
Then why did they show up to get involved with Candy Prawn
And
pedophiles?
I realized the only argument I had here, this is some Radio Free Equestria Gandalf Girthing, is that they showed up because the plot is basically Sailor-esque alien comes down with technology and forces the fairies, the candy fairies of planet Earth, to help her steal children so she can have wonderful dreams with them in her black dream hole.
Yeah.
And because this happened, the outer Senshi are like, oh shit, we let one through. We better go clean that up before we get in trouble. Also, the inner Senshi can't deal with this shit. The Green Lantern on Earth can't deal with the Galactus whatevers.
Right. But here's the thing, right? Those outer Senshi whatever, they were way confident and way stronger powers, and they looked older and cooler.
Yeah, they're in high school.
They actually didn't hesitate to use. They look like college in the mid.
Yeah,
I guess like the Sailor Moons. It's weird. It's like the opposite of current animes. Current animes, it's like, what is she in? She's in high school. She looks like she's 2. But now it's like, well, those middle school girls look like high school girls, and the high school girls look like college girls.
Yep.
But do those outer ones, do they live on the outer planets like Pluto, or do they actually go to school somewhere on Earth?
So it's complicated depending on what era of Sailor Moon we're in. But yeah, the two.
Do they live on Titan or Europa or something?
So Haruka and Michiru, Uranus and Neptune, the
lesbians.
The lesbians. They went to a high school. There's stuff with that high school that tried to destroy the world.
Great.
When the Holy Grail came.
It's a pedo high school.
No, when the Holy Grail came and they had to stop Pharaoh from destroying the world with
King
the Holy
Arthur's
Grail.
Holy Grail?
Yeah.
But the Pharaoh Ramses wanted the Holy Grail?
No, the Pharaoh basically the Pharaoh is the same as the villain from The Fifth Element.
Oh.
Like actually to the point that when I
How
saw
about
The
Stargate?
Fifth Element...
Stargate?
No, more like Fifth Element.
Okay.
When I saw The Fifth Element...
Ruby Rod?
I remember literally thinking... Wow, did they steal this from Sailor Moon?
What the fuck?
Like, it's so the same thing.
Anyway.
Ruby Rod.
But they showed up and they're all confident, but they didn't actually get the job done. They just sort of picked off the bonbon babies and stuff. And
well, they picked them off.
Sailor Moon had to actually get the real job done.
So there's a trope to the Sailor Moon movies of Sailor Moon, everyone's failed.
But Sailor Moon is way less powerful and way less dumb.
She is, in fact, the most
Then
powerful.
why doesn't she use the fucking powers?
Because her powers are weird and different, and it's complicated.
Just use them. You've used them before. This isn't the first movie, right?
So,
it's not movie 1, which means you've used the power before. Use whatever you used before, right? Fist of the North Star doesn't get this wrong. He learns Musuo Tensei. He uses Musuo Tensei. He doesn't forget it, right? When he needs to use it, he whips it out.
So in the show... every half season or so, she learns a new power and like levels up. They all learn new powers.
Cool. How many powers did they know by the time
Oh
this
my-
episode?
So you notice how all the individual sailors kept using like different powers? That was basically
They didn't
all
really
the-
have that many of them, but they used 3 or 4 each. And the thing that really bothered me is like they whipped out like all these sword handles that didn't have swords on them.
So the,
When they transformed, but then they didn't actually even have the handles afterwards. And I'm like, you have this tool you use in your transformation sequence, and where'd the tool go? But then the better ones showed up, and they actually had like swords and staves, and they actually used them. Like,
well, because they're the badasses. Pluto is one of the baddest asses there is.
right? Why
Sailor
didn't the
Saturn
badasses get the whole job done, and why didn't Sailor Moon just go back home and take
Sailor
care of freaking
Saturn
Tuxedo Guy?
has one basic
in the
power.
hospital.
Sailor Saturn's power is destroy all of existence right the fuck now, the end of everything.
All right, so you should stay home because that power's useless.
Yeah.
In
yeah,
fact,
she-
why didn't the other sailors just fucking kill Sailor Saturn? That doesn't ever happen.
that's actually the plot of
Because
Sailor...
somebody is just gonna like possess Sailor Saturn and make that happen.
So, Scott, that's pretty much the plot of Sailor Moon S.
Oh, at least that's not so dumb.
She's a girl, and, she, all the senshi
Is
are
she
reincarnated.
some like high school girl who's dumb?
No, she's actually eerily, like, scarily smart and
Well, that's
weird.
good.
And she knows what's up, and her dad's a scientist, and that's actually... If you're
That's
ever
good,
gonna
that's
watch
good,
Sailor Moon S is probably
So that's not
the
what
best
we
one
that's
to
not what
watch.
we watched.
No, Sailor Moon S, the show.
So we watched SuperS the
The
movie.
movie.
What's super about it?
It's just Super S as opposed to S. And
Is there a SuperS TV show?
yes,
Or-
the TV shows go Sailor Moon. Then there's that Alan and Ann bullshit.
what's
then there's
that?
Just like a between that and Sailor Moon.
Is it an
R.
OAV or a TV or a
It's
movie?
like just the next season after the first Queen Beryl thing ends.
Oh, okay.
So there's the Queen Beryl arc. Then there's the Alan and Ann arc. And then what is colloquially known as Sailor Moon R, which is
Arr.
arguably Alan and Ann and the next thing with Prince Diamond.
Okay.
Then there's Sailor Moon S, which is about the Holy Grail, Pharaoh, Saturn destroying the
So
universe.
that's all the epic stuff.
That's the epic
That's
stuff.
why you want people to watch that one.
Super S is
'Cause
Pegasus.
that has all the cosmic stuff.
Super S is Pegasuses and candy and bullshit.
The TV show and the movie?
Yes.
Okay.
But different Pegasuses and different bullshit and different candy.
Okay.
And Sailor Stars is the girls who turn into guys who come from, it's like super galactic. Like if all the
Andromeda.
yes, if Sailor Moon S is
Beetlejuice.
like the Green Lantern expanded universe, then Super S is like, I don't even know.
You mean stars?
Yeah, Stars. Stars is like the next step out. Like
So then what's the end of Sailor Moon?
Stars.
Is it?
So Stars
Okay.
basically is
So
like
each of these things is a TV show and a movie? Are there OAVs?
there's no Stars movie.
Oh, okay.
And
But
the
every
movies-
but every other thing is a TV show and a movie.
Yes, and the
So
movies
like
have
if you want
nothing to do with the show.
So like there's an R TV series and an R movie.
Yes, the R movie is the gay guy from space ruins
And the movie
everything.
comes after each TV series?
The movie does not make sense or fit into the continuity at all.
None of the movies?
Nope.
Okay.
They're like the Cowboy Bebop movie.
Were these movies in theaters?
As far as I can tell, they were.
Whoa. They're like Pokemon movies.
Yes.
Okay.
As far as
Or
I
One
can
Piece
tell.
movie.
So, another trope of a Sailor Moon movie is that everyone fails, and then there's an impossible situation like we're all gonna die, or you can't stop this. You can't get out of a black dream hole once you crawl into it. And then Sailor Moon will say, "I have to try anyway," and then she dies or something, and then magically she comes back anyway.
That's exactly what happened.
That happens in all the movies.
Okay.
Happens all the time.
Okay.
Though in the R movie, she actually just dies and then comes back to life for
Okay.
basically no reason.
Okay.
But they have a Sailor teleport in that one, which I'm surprised they didn't use here because the fact that they meet the outer
Yeah,
senshi,
they had to like go make a boat or something to get to where
I
the
know,
space station they need to
even
go
if
to.
these don't fit in the continuity, they knew Sailor teleport before they met those outer senshi. So, God. Also, Queen Badine looks almost exactly like Sailor Galaxia from Stars, so it's
Maybe there's a connection. Maybe
yeah.
it's just the same artist, lazy character designer.
I can Gandalf Girth the connection, but I'm not going to. And also, we're not talking about the manga, which is different. Don't even no manga. We're only
How
talking
much of the
about
manga
anime.
have you read?
I've read like 5 or 6 random volumes of the manga.
Okay,
in
I thought you were
books.
gonna say you read the whole thing.
I've read like 2 Starses.
Didn't
and,
you read
a
like
few
all of
others.
Meisani Goku off the shelf
Yes,
without ever buying a volume?
I also read all the Sailor Moon that I ever read at the same Walden books.
Okay, so Sailor Moon, the one we watched was
S.
Something Super S
the
movie.
last Sailor Moon movie ever made.
Candy, pedophiles, and stupidity.
The movie.
If you really want to lull and you were mad wasted on some substances and you want to see some guys convince children into his boat with candy
To then take him to his master.
to his
Queen,
to put them in a black hole.
Queen Baddie is Queen Badian, which means roughly
The
star
bad queen.
anus.
So he's gonna put him in the anus black hole. These
No,
children that were
into
lured.
her wonderful black dream hole.
Right, so they lure children with candy into the queen's wonderful black dream hole of anus.
One thing I can't
You can
say
watch
for
this movie. It's only an hour. You're not suffering that
and all the
much.
Sailor Moon movies are actually really well animated, and I forgot.
Yeah, the animation was actually pretty good. Like, I don't know what year it was from, but I was like, oh, high budget on the
Sailor Moon's
animation.
hit or miss. Like, there's a point in Stars where the animation like goes way to shit. Like, I think there were scab artists because something happened like during the series.
I'm sure Wikipedia knows.
There's
it.
a few episodes where like the animation goes like way off model and way
Island
to shit.
episodes.
But there are parts of Sailor Moon, especially the movies, they're actually like the facial expressions and the way they're drawn, and the animation is great. Like, I forgot how much I like some of this old cell animation. Like, the animation alone makes up for.
I mean, there was a lot of stuff where you would see they weren't trying. They were like, they were skimping on the animation, right? There'd be a scene where like only the mouth moves, or the people are just sort of standing there.
But like when
but
they all
it
go
was all
down
really
eyes-
the colors are nice. It was high resolutions, even though it wasn't HD.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. Like, wow, this looks pretty great considering it's like a 1 hour throwaway kind of movie situation.
It was surprisingly okay to watch again. I mean, I saw it once a long time ago.
I mean, it wasn't painful to watch, but it was fun to make fun of. But this isn't like some great anime movie you got to run out to see right away.
Yeah. Though it is worth watching at least one of the 3 Sailor Moon movies just to kind of get a feel for what Sailor Moon is and was, and to know that thing, to know what that is.
Yeah.
Also, the plot of this really is The Matrix, but with Pied Pedo Pepper Pipers. Pedo Piper Bear Pepper.
Imagine if Noah from Noah's Ark was collecting to children's. But because he wanted to start the flood, not because the flood already was coming. He was going to use the children to make a flood.
If only, I kind of want to know what Kunihiko Ikuhara's version of this was going to be, because it focused only on the awesome sailors, and the plot was apparently going to be that one of them was in a deep sleep, like in this dream world, and the other one was going to go attack the other normal sailors and steal their shit and use that to save her girlfriend.
Dude, one sailor with all the sailor shit who's confident and actually can cast all those spells at once. That's got to be much better than this movie.
Yeah.
that
Now,
we just saw.
Ikuhara said, which is really interesting, in an interview, that he took a lot of the ideas he had for what was going to be the Sailor Moon Super S movie and pulled them out of his bag when it was time to make Shoujo Kakume Utena.
Great.
That's why I want to see what this movie would have been, because I think it would have been a lot like Utena, because you realize there's swords being pulled out of people's chests and stuff.
Instead, it's just a throwaway whatever.
Yeah, with the guys that turn into birds.
Yeah.
Banana and orange.
At least their existence and character design is humorous.
Yeah.
That's the best I can say about it.
That's all we can say. I don't know, watch some anime.
Yeah, there's probably something else you could be watching instead of this, but
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.